All right, so let's talk about Terrifier 2.
Okay, sure. So
Yeah.
I hear about this. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I heard a lot about it. So like, all right, let me give it a chance.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. That's the thing is the word of mouth aspect about this show though that drew me into it. Because I would not have even known about Terrifier or Terrifier 2 if it wasn't for this the buzz that was spurring online, right? Um, because for me, I don't seek out indie horror films that much, right? It just had to have that extra something, or it had to have that sort of like level of critical reception for me to be like, okay, let me check that out, right? But especially in the slasher genre, you know what I mean? Because like when it comes to today's slashers, the ones that unfortunately draw my attention are like the ones like Halloween and like I just talked about Halloween Kills, in a few episodes ago, which yeah, sorry, Halloween Ends, sorry, right? Which absolutely sucked, right? But yeah, Terrifier, I was like, all right, what's this Terrifier thing, right? And then I learned that okay, this is based off of a sequel from a movie from 2016, right? Obviously called Terrifier, right?
Yeah,
But because I am not a horror connoisseur, I would not have known about this show, right? But I actually checked it out for Halloween. I wanted to do like a double feature, but I only got the chance to watch the first one, right? And I saw why people like responded to that, positively, if you will. But when I say people, I mean like just diehard horror fans, because that's what that show is aiming for. It's aiming for gorehead people who just love to see blood and guts, right? And this is actually, well, funny enough, right? This is actually directed by Damien Leone, right? So he
right.
actually did a anthology film called All Hallows Eve back in 2013, right? And one of the films that he made involved, this character called Art the Clown, right? Who would be the antagonist of Terrifier 1 and 2, right? I think that he did this Indiegogo, not Kicks, it wasn't Kickstarter, I think it was Indiegogo campaign now to get funds to make Terrifier, right? And
Right.
well, it actually works. So the man actually make a film, right? Now, see it for myself, right? I admire the show for what it is, right? It is a throwback to specifically 80s schlocky slasher films, right?
Right.
And it's funny that he's tapping into that particular era, right? 'Cause, yeah, this is our only time where, believe it or not, as the late great Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel would say, they literally used to be one of these slasher films every single week, right?
Right.
And they are like one like two like in legendary, right? It is like two of the biggest detractors of the slasher genre back in the 80s,
Right.
right? 'Cause, yeah, Roger Ebert actually defended the first Halloween, right? And rightfully so, right? Mainly because Jamie Lee Curtis, right? Her just not being a victim, she actually fights back, right? But yeah, their criticism of those films, like like with stuff like say, "Don't Go Into the House" or what's the other one? The Friday 13th series or Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is getting a kind of a remake of sorts next month with your boy David Harbour, right? Yeah, they were kind of like anti-slasher film. They were like, oh, it's tasteless and it's crass and it
Yeah.
is promoting violence against women and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, because I am not the biggest fan of slasher films, I can't defend those films, right? I just go into them expected to get some sort of like visceral experience. Like I want to feel scared. I want to feel a sort of attention to it, right? But in no way am I watching this thing to see women get slaughtered, right? I just want to get out of the room, right? But it seems like Damien knows this, right? But he's still playing to those like it's almost like he's kind of going like he's giving the fans what they want, but he's also kind of taking the piss out of people who just hate that style of horror, right? Because yeah, in that first film though, there's some really like gruesome fucking deaths in that show though.
Yeah.
One involving a woman and a hacksaw. That's all I'll say. It is beyond gross, but I was like, all right, I see what this guy is going for. It is a splatter film. It is that schlocky, over the top, just gory, non-stop gory kind of stuff, right? And that's what it is, right? But the main problem that I had with that film, and a lot of people had with the film, even though it got fairly great good reviews, is that there wasn't really that much of a story to it. It was just, oh, it's this demonic clown who just walks around on Halloween night with a garbage bag with a bunch of tools, and he just runs into random people and kills them, right? Is the problem that I have with Michael Myers in the Halloween series. It's
Yeah.
just a guy who walks around and kills people for no reason, right? But I will say that the actor now who plays let me get his name again. Right, right. Who plays Art the Clown? David Howard Thornton. I thought that yeah, he was great in that film, right? Yeah, because what one thing what makes Art the Clown stand out as far as clown villains go, right? And yeah, I mean the perfect example to compare him to is Pennywise, right? From
Right.
the It films, right? Is that he does not say anything. He's practically a mime, right?
Yes.
So yeah, he would like taunt you, he will like laugh at you, tease at you. But yeah, when he's killing people, he has like this ridiculous smile on his face. And then like when he's watching his victims squirm or scream and bleed out to death, he's like laughing at them now, but there's no voice because again he's playing a mime now. And that just adds like a really deeply disturbing level to this character though. But yeah, it kind of draws it into it though, you know. So like if you just have a dark sense of humor, you will like this character, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, again, going back to the first film, it was just very light on story. It was just situations, characters get involved, and blah blah blah, right? And that was then there's some supernatural elements that really weren't explained in that film, right? But it led to the sequel that we have here, right? Now with Terrifier 2, right? This is what I would say. The two shows are compared to. This is like the Evil Dead 2 and the Conjuring 2 of this Terrifier series, where yeah, Damien get a bigger budget. He's being a lot more ambitious now in terms of the story and the scares and whatnot. But like similar to the Conjuring 2 now, the runtime of this is pretty long. This movie clocks in at about 2 hours and 18 minutes, right? I'll talk about that runtime in a bit, right? But yeah, what this show is about in a nutshell is that yeah, I mean, there's been a year has passed since what they call the Miles County Massacre, where yes, on that one night of Halloween, Art went around killing people, and then
Right.
eventually he shot himself in the head. Slight spoiler, and he was carried to the morgue. But hey, actually is alive, right? And well, the show kind of starts from there, right? And I actually do something interesting in that film now, where there was one of the victims of the film, Victoria, right, who actually survives now, but her face is like severely mutilated, right? She shows back up again, but it kind of continues from that point on, right? And I'm not gonna say what happens to her there at that, for now, right? But we pretty much introduced these new characters, right? So we have Sienna Shaw, who's played by Lauren Lavera. First time I hearing about her. She has a younger brother who is pretty much obsessed with Art the Clown. And yes, it is set during Halloween time. So yeah, everybody getting ready to go out and do the thing, right? But she has this hang up now where, her father passed away, but he sort of knew something about art as well too. And it's kind of hinted that he was kind of like setting him up to like he was going up against him at some point in time, but like he didn't live long enough. So eventually that burden kind of passes on to Sienna now. And
Right.
yeah, as I said before, Art, just gets back out, he leaves the morgue now and resumes his killing, right? But in the process now, he runs into a younger clone, right? Just
Okay.
what we call the Little Pale Girl. That's what it's called on Wikipedia, right? It's implied that this is his daughter, but they don't really say, unfortunately. But she has similar clown makeup, and she is just as psychotic as him, right? But the thing is, as you set up early on, she is not real. She's just a figment of Art's imagination, right?
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, it's weird. It's weird, right?
Again,
So yeah,
right.
in between kills, though, he would just see this girl, and he
So
kind of
they have
acts like a
so they
fatherly
played
figure
they
towards
played they
her.
played they played a degree of psychosis, but for the clown, which is interesting.
Yeah,
But from his
it's
perspective,
weird. Yeah, it's
right?
really weird. It's really weird. It's really weird, right? And just to jump into this review here, boy, this shit is weird, boy, but in a good way, in a really admirable and ambitious way, boy. Cause yeah, Damien pretty much kind of answers. I actually like the fact that he took the criticism of the first film very well, where it's like, yeah, light on
Right.
story, light on characters, right? And here you say, here's what I can give all your protagonists that you will care about. I'll give you enough backstory to understand where Sienna is coming from, why she is the way she is, blah blah
Right.
blah. Why the brother is so obsessed about art and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, in terms of Art himself is this, yeah, why he is the way he is, right? There's hints as to where his origin came from. So case in point, there is I forget what you call it. It's basically a children's show, but one of those like filmed. like in a set kind of shows, where you have the background and you have like the actors come out and sing songs in front of a live audience. It's that type of show
Right.
that it was, right? But
Right.
it's never really stated what happened. But like although it kind of funny, it remind me a lot of Nope. Now, it's implied that something really brutal and violent took place involving Art, and maybe he escaped in the process, right? So yeah, there's something left. It's something suggested in terms of that, right? Now, in terms of flaws, I just had to get the flaws out of the way, right? I do understand that it is a genre of horror, right? So you could get away. I mean, I made this comment before. Perfect example when I talked about Men, right? Where yes, you could leave certain things out in the open. You could leave things ambiguous, right? And you could leave it to the audience to figure out, oh, this is why this happened, right? But there's
Right.
some things in this show that aren't explained at all, and it's just kind of just there to kind of lead the story along. So, case in point, that same TV show, for example, you don't know what happened. You don't know if Art like killed everybody, because I mean, surprise, surprise, everybody died in that, right? But you don't know if
Yeah.
he killed them or not, right? And then there's also a thing involving Sienna, and she has dreams. So yes, she actually has a dream of that same show, right? But is this extended dream sequence? Now, and I'll talk about the runtime in a bit now. They're kind of wondering if this is like a vision of the past or something. You're not sure because she involved in it, and there's also something involving she dad and this particular weapon that he had. Apparently, it was supposed to kill him. It was the
Right.
only way to kill him, but they never really say how that is the case and all that kind of stuff. So, in a nutshell, like while I do praise the ambition, there are a few plot points that could have just been properly fleshed out, because you can't just tell me, well, just run with it. The show is weird, right? It's a slasher film. Nobody cares about story anyway. But no, because you spend a lot of time setting that up. Sorry, a considerable amount of time setting that up. You had to kind of justify it in the payoff, though. Even right down to the kid, to the kid, the little pale girl that Art sees. We still don't know who she is, right?
Exactly. Right.
It's like that, right? But again, it's horror, so it's up. It's up. You gotta leave it to the imagination. Not all the time. Some shit you gotta explain, right? And I wish I could have done that there, right? And the reason why I'm really saying this too is because yeah, there are some moments that just like come like unexpected, though. Like like yes, it's to get the story rolling and whatnot, right? But it just kind of logically makes no sense, though. You know what I mean? And it's just weird. It almost took me out of the show a few times, though, those logic holes. But still, I was like, all right, let me just see where the show plays out, right? And especially in the end, can we get a post credit scene that's just so batshit weird and crazy, though. But yeah, again, it's just a setup for the third one, right? But still, it just like logically makes no sense, right? And I would say, well, that particular moment, without spoiling anything, I felt like it was more like shock value more than anything else, though. But still, you could explain that, cause yeah, that shit made no sense, right? That being said, well, wait, before and last gripe now, the runtime itself, 2 hours and 18 minutes, right? Um, while I do admire the runtime, while I do admire the effort put into fleshing out some of the characters, right? It could drag. It does feel like it drags in certain points, right? And that's not to say that you don't get your kills, right? Because yeah, you get a lot of kills in this, right? I'll get to that in a bit, right? But yeah, I'm not saying that the runtime is punishing or it's way too long, right? But
Right.
because I had to put the blame on Damien for this one because yeah, he edited the film, right? Yeah, I know you want to be big and bold and ambitious with the sequel, but you could have just dial it back by about 10 minutes. Just about that 10 minutes, and because I have no problem with him passing the 2 hour marker, but 2018, bro. I don't know, for a slasher film, but again, that really remind me of The Conjuring 2, which was a longer film than the first one, right? But again, bigger budget and you want to do big things, right? So, it's that, right? So to get to the good, yes, this is a bigger, better, much more improved sequel, much more improved film, I should say, compared to the original one, right? Just in terms of direction, cinematography, acting. Yeah, it just stepped up considerably, boy, since that last film. It's like, again, like Damien just kind of just self-consciously look at the first film as like, all right, what can I do better, Trent? And the man do it. Somehow he get more money and he just put it to this film, right? But it being a splatter film, where the money went into
Right.
the practical effects. And yes, the practical effects are amazing in this. I would say stellar in this, right? Even if you're not a horror fan, Dread, you will be impressed by the kind of shit this man pull off, Dread. I didn't even know. Well, I could just read up quickly what the budget is. A scene is 250,000. Yeah, 250,000 though.
Wow, that really
Yeah,
yeah.
and
It's
this
nothing
show
that
so
micro
far has
budget.
made yeah, and this show so far has made 10 million in the box office. So yeah, indie darling right here. No wonder people talking about it, right? And just to get into why people talking about it, yeah, this shit is violent AF. It is bloody. It is gory. It is disgusting. It is brutal. And I was just in awe of all of that too. And this is coming from somebody who is not even the biggest fan of what I would call Gorno films, right? That's like
Yeah.
stuff like say Saw or Hostel, where you could kind of tell that the director kind of
Co-
reveling in seeing people
yeah,
getting
go on.
tortured,
Yeah,
killed, right?
torture porn. The torture porn genre, subgenre.
Yeah. Even though
Yeah.
I still defend the first Saw. I defend the first Saw, right?
Right, me too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still like the first one.
Yeah, but like even like that show, for example, like what that was able to do with its budget, though, you know what I mean? It works, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean in this film, Dread, you get some genuine scares in this too, and I really love how they build tension in it, right? Because it just easy could have been blood and guts for the sake of blood and guts, but nah, they build tension very well, though. And just to touch on terms of that now, again, David Howard Thornton, please add the clown boy. He shines in this though. He is both menacing and funny at the same time though. It's kind of weird to use those two terms, but yeah, he really does act like a clown. You know, what I mean, he is, and a mime. He's doing stuff to get your attention. Like, oh, look at this. Let me pull this out of my pocket. He's doing that, right? And I like, although it does border on gratuitous, right? I like how he kind of methodically goes after his victims. Right? Like he will just kind of poke you at first and poke you and do it until they get annoyed, and then when you think, oh, that's it, the man will just come up from behind you and just start to slaughter your dread. And he's the type of person that he will take his time with his slaughtering dread. Like he will just like break bones, he will rip off flesh, and he will just keep going and going and going, right? But what I love doing, I don't know, I guess it's just me and my dark sense of humor. It always has a great payoff. It always
Yeah.
has this nice little visual gag that it all ends up with, right? And it works, you know what I mean? But it all depends on just how much you could stomach, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could stomach all the blood and stuff like that, once the payoff comes off, it's like, yeah, this totally works, right? But yeah, to touch on the blood and guts, so yeah, this of course is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, Dread. This borders on this I would say this off the violence alone, this long past a hard R Dread.
Right.
This kind of borders on NC-17. I would say
Right. Yeah.
X
That.
if
Yeah.
you wanna go back to that era, right? Yeah, this is like a rated X kind of thing, right?
Wow. Okay.
But for me, I actually like I wasn't like totally sickened by it, and I would say if I don't know, like for me, it's just because I was just amazed at the craft of it all, right? Because again, you're just thinking of something so low budget and how he was just able to pull it off, right? And you could say, well, that's all props and all that kind of stuff. But no, there's some moments where you genuinely have to admire the craft. Like there's little to nothing here that looks fake, right? Or I would say, despite the buckets of blood that you see here, everything kind of looks real in terms of like the victims and all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean, right? But yeah, I would say just in closing, if you know it to gain yourself into, yeah, you could just sit through this film and just enjoy it for what it is, man. I was hearing about, oh, and I like that Demon used this for the marketing of this film. Yeah, people in cinemas were fainting and were vomiting, and
Right. Yeah. Well, they
it's
do
that
it all the
gimmick.
time. They do it all
Yeah,
the time. We
it's
call
that
it
gimmick. They was doing
I
that
forget.
from since like what, like Last House on the Left from like, well, the
No.
original one.
We call it by Paranormal Activity was a big one with that.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Oh, watch the film that people were freaking
Right.
out on across
They
the
show
aisles.
candid footage. They show candid camera footage of a bunch of people melted down in the audience. That was good.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great bit. Yeah. But yeah, you have to go in knowing what to expect, Trent. And for me, I just admire the hell out of the fact that this man, Leone, say, "Hey, this is the shit I want to make. If you don't like it, back out, Trent. This is not for you, Trent." And despite the Gorno level of violence in it, Trent, it still is a rather enjoyable horror film. Like, you'll watch it and you
Yeah.
will have fun. In the way that you enjoy watching horror films of this nature. You go in and you have a blast, right? And even despite the length, I still was just enjoying it, right? Because yeah, it is at the end of the day a love letter to 80s horror film, is a love letter to slasher films, and just in terms of slasher films. Thanks to this film, boy, the Clown Dread is like a certified like icon dread in terms of horror cinema. I would say that right off the bat. People might say, we need a third film for him to be certified. Nah, this second film definitely
Yeah.
have him up there. Dread. He's up there with the ranks of, say, like, a Mike Myers or Jason Voorhees. Dread. He will
Right.
go down as one of the most iconic slasher characters ever put to screen. But you know what I mean? So yeah, judging by my reaction to this, yeah, I enjoyed this show for what it was, man. Again, for what it is, right? It knows exactly what it is, right? So rating wise, as a guilty pleasure, okay, yeah, I would easily say this is one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies of the year. And again, this is coming from somebody who's not even a fan of this style of horror, right? Yeah, decent strong four, man. 4 out of 5, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
This is how you improve on your first film. This is what you do when you get a bigger budget. Yeah, you just go all out on your serve trend. You know what I mean? And yeah, I would just love to see its legacy in the long run. I do see this as a staple of Halloween film viewing. You just watch the first two films. I know you're gonna get a third one. I'm not sure when exactly, but I have a feeling like if Damien just stick to his guns, man, the man could have like a solid like horror series under his belt, man. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, clearly as somebody coming from the indie scene, man, I just wishing nothing but the best for this man, man. In his career, man. The man just come and say, yo, I just gonna take it back to that style of film that had men like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, saying, oh, ban these movies, shit. I go in all in on that shit, shit. And if you don't like it, if you have a weak stomach, yeah, this shit ain't for you. But if you are into that style of horror films, if you just want to see what the hype is, and most importantly, if you have a strong stomach, yeah, by all means, definitely check out Terrifier 2, man.